Have you ever wondered why some people seem to attract wealth, love, and joy effortlessly, while others struggle endlessly, as if life itself conspires against them? This is where it begins, with the revelation that Neville Goddard's three-step formula for attracting prosperity, love, and happiness is not just theory, but a living, breathing method that can transform your reality faster than you ever imagined. This is how it unfolds. By the end of this video, you will understand how to engage your imagination, embody the state of your desire, and persist in feeling until your dreams crystallize into tangible experience. This is where truth breaks through, showing that the power to change everything has always resided within you, waiting silently beneath the chatter of everyday life. This is why it matters, because every financial worry, every lonely night, every fleeting happiness can be re-scripted through conscious creation. This is the turning point, where the invisible forces of imagination meet the solid ground of reality, and the formula begins to work in ways that feel miraculous, but are completely natural. This is how your heart will open to the idea that prosperity, love, and happiness are not external prizes, but extensions of your inner state. This is where illusion fades, exposing the truth that your outer world is simply a reflection of your inner assumptions. This is the promise of the formula, that by mastering 3 clear steps, you can direct life itself as an artist directs a masterpiece. This is where the first spark ignites, as you start seeing how every thought, every feeling, every fleeting mental picture is a seed of creation. This is why this knowledge has survived decades, whispered in classrooms, lectures, and mystical writings, because it works consistently across every human condition. This is where your curiosity must ignite, asking not if it is possible, but how you can personally step into it and claim your desires with absolute certainty. This is how belief begins to solidify, not as blind faith, but as a living, breathing certainty that shapes the contours of your reality. This is where the formula for attracting prosperity, love, and happiness starts to intertwine, because one cannot truly flourish in wealth while remaining emotionally empty or unfulfilled. This is the turning point where your mind begins to map desires onto the canvas of life, painting scenes so vivid that the subconscious accepts them as reality. This is how the magic becomes methodical, because Neville's 3 steps are simple, precise, and repeatable, requiring nothing but your imagination and unwavering feeling. This is where momentum builds, as you see small manifestations appear, confirmations that the formula is already working quietly behind the scenes. This is why so many fail to recognize it. They act externally without first aligning internally. But once the internal alignment is felt, external changes follow with ease and grace. This is where patience becomes your ally, teaching that persistence in the state of fulfillment outweighs frantic activity. This is how love begins to bloom, not as longing for someone else, but as recognition that your vibrational alignment naturally draws affection and connection. This is where prosperity no longer feels like chasing a prize, but like stepping into a stream that has always been flowing, waiting for you to enter, and the formula for attracting prosperity, love, and happiness shows you exactly how to step in and stay there. Can you imagine a world where every desire you hold already exists, not somewhere in the future, but in the vivid theater of your own mind? This is how it begins to crystallize, because Neville's 3-step formula for attracting prosperity, love, and happiness relies on awakening imagination as the primary instrument of creation. This is where focus sharpens, revealing that imagination is not mere daydreaming, but the tangible blueprint of your life yet to be realized. This is why clarity matters, because each detail you picture with sensory richness plants a seed that your subconscious mind cannot ignore. This is the turning point, where you learn to inhabit the scenes of your fulfilled desires as though they are present reality, and the emotional intensity carries them into manifestation. This is how your inner world starts dictating outer results, as the boundaries between imagined and real blur under persistent feeling. This is where resistance begins to dissolve, for the mind that truly believes in the reality of its inner scenes becomes impervious to doubt or delay. This is the secret, that prosperity, love, and happiness do not come from effort alone, but from the deliberate assumption of the desired state, fully embodied in heart and mind. This is how the formula works simultaneously on all levels, aligning your financial opportunities, emotional bonds, and joyful experiences toward the same end. This is where subtle shifts become visible, as ideas spark action, encounters align unexpectedly, and opportunities appear almost magically. This is why persistence in imagination is crucial, because fleeting thoughts leave fleeting results, but sustained scenes harden into reality. This is how love emerges, not as pursuit but as magnetism, drawing others who resonate with your fulfilled inner state without force or pleading. This is the turning point where prosperity starts to feel inevitable. For the mind that lives in abundance cannot remain poor. This is where happiness anchors itself, not dependent on circumstances, but on the unwavering feeling of already having received. This is how the three desires, prosperity, love, and happiness, begin to converge, showing the elegance of Neville's formula as a unified force. This is where the mind's creative power is revealed, capable of shaping not just small outcomes, but entire lifetimes. This is why those who master imagination become effortless creators, moving through life with quiet confidence and magnetic presence. This is how the subconscious is impressed, taking the sensory-rich, emotionally charged scenes as irrefutable truth. This is where your life begins to mirror your inner vision, and every action, encounter, and choice aligns seamlessly with the prosperity, love, and happiness you have imagined. This is how the formula for attracting prosperity, love, and happiness transforms from abstract concept to lived reality, guiding every thought, feeling, and moment into the orchestration of your fulfilled life. Now consider this. What if you could step into a reality where every desire you've ever held is already yours, felt as vividly as the beat of your own heart? This is where the three-step formula for attracting prosperity, love, and happiness moves from imagination into emotional embodiment, because Neville teaches that feeling is the bridge between desire and manifestation. This is how it unfolds. As you learn to mentally occupy the state where your wish has already been fulfilled, letting your consciousness live in that reality before it appears externally. This is the turning point where external circumstances begin to yield, not through struggle or negotiation, but through alignment with your inner state. This is where emotional fidelity becomes your most potent tool, because every nuance of belief, joy, and gratitude impresses the subconscious, catalyzing manifestation in subtle but unstoppable ways. This is why so many fail. They wait for evidence outside before they feel inside. But the formula reverses this, showing that reality follows feeling, not the other way around. This is how love manifests naturally, when you carry the feeling of being cherished and adored first, allowing relationships to reflect that state rather than attempting to chase them externally. This is where prosperity accelerates, because your mind and heart are already tuned to abundance, guiding your choices and opportunities to match the inner conviction of wealth and sufficiency. This is how happiness deepens, for it is no longer a fleeting reaction, but a consistent vibration that colors every experience, elevating mundane moments into satisfaction and peace. This is where the subconscious becomes an unwavering ally, translating the inner conviction of the wish fulfilled into real-life events, circumstances, and people. This is why consistency is more powerful than quantity, because repeated immersion in the fulfilled state leaves no room for doubt to settle. This is the turning point where the formula shows its elegance. One unified state generates all three outcomes: prosperity, love, and happiness, simultaneously and harmoniously. This is how the art of living in the end begins to feel effortless, as if the universe itself conspires to mirror your inner scene without resistance or friction. This is where subtle clues appear, synchronicities and confirmations that validate the inner reality you are inhabiting, reinforcing belief and accelerating manifestation. This is how the mind begins to rewrite patterns, replacing old scarcity, loneliness, or discontent with a vivid certainty of fulfillment. This is where emotional realism matters, because half-hearted imagination produces half-hearted results, while fully felt scenes carry a force that reshapes outer reality. This is why Neville emphasizes sensory richness. Sight, sound, touch, and emotion all weave together to create the tapestry your subconscious reads as real. This is how the three-step formula ensures that your desires are not delayed, misdirected, or diluted, but nurtured into concrete manifestation with precision. This is where life itself becomes a mirror of your inner state. Each encounter, opportunity, and decision aligning perfectly with the prosperity, love, and happiness you have already assumed. This is how mastery begins, as the formula transitions from practice to lifestyle, a continuous flow of creation and fulfillment that colors every moment with the taste of your imagined reality. Suppose you discover a power so subtle yet unstoppable that the moment you feel it, reality begins to bend and respond, shaping itself around your inner conviction of fulfillment. This is where Neville's three-step formula for attracting prosperity, love, and happiness shows its relentless precision. Because imagination alone is not enough without unwavering persistence in the feeling of your desire already realized. This is how it unfolds, as the mind learns to linger in the state of satisfaction, gratitude, and joy until it solidifies into events, opportunities, and people that mirror that inner certainty. This is the turning point where impatience becomes irrelevant, because the heart and mind are already immersed in the reality they seek, making external timing a trivial concern. This is where the first true tests appear, for the world will present contradictions, delays, or distractions, and persistence in feeling is what determines whether the formula succeeds or falters. This is why emotional consistency matters, because even a single moment of doubt can weaken the current of manifestation, while steady inner conviction strengthens it, like water flowing steadily into soil. This is how prosperity solidifies, as repeated immersion in the state of abundance rewires beliefs, attracts opportunities, and primes actions that align with wealth. This is where love deepens, because persistent feelings of being cherished and loved magnetize relationships that resonate with your assumed state, drawing others effortlessly into your reality. This is how happiness anchors itself, independent of circumstance, becoming a living vibration that colors every interaction, choice, and moment with joy. This is where the formula demonstrates its genius, combining imagination, emotional embodiment, and unwavering persistence into a unified method that consistently generates tangible results. This is why Neville emphasizes living as if, not as pretense, but as a total mental and emotional occupation of the reality you desire. This is how obstacles transform into confirmations, because persistence creates inner momentum that subtly reshapes perception, interpretation, and opportunity. This is where subtle signals become clear. Synchronicities, chance meetings, and effortless solutions appear as natural extensions of the persistent inner state. This is how the subconscious absorbs the repetition, interpreting it as undeniable truth, and orchestrating outer reality to match the inner conviction of prosperity, love, and happiness. This is why the formula is described as simple yet profound. Its simplicity lies in 3 steps, but its profundity lies in the transformative force of feeling lived and persisted. This is where patience and persistence merge, teaching that every moment spent in the assumed state strengthens the bridge between imagination and reality. This is how mastery begins to feel effortless, as the act of assuming fulfillment becomes a natural rhythm, seamlessly integrated into daily life. This is where the outer world aligns, circumstances and people shifting subtly but unmistakably in response to the consistent inner state. This is how the 3-step formula transforms from a practice into a lifestyle, where prosperity, love, and happiness are no longer distant goals, but continuous lived realities. This is the moment where your inner certainty becomes your outer experience, and the life you imagined with clarity, feeling, and persistence starts to emerge unmistakably into your tangible world. Envision a world where wealth is not earned through struggle or external validation, but drawn effortlessly to those whose inner state resonates with abundance and certainty. This is where Neville's 3-step formula for attracting prosperity, love, and happiness becomes a living mechanism, because outer success is always the reflection of inner conviction rather than frantic external effort. This is how it unfolds, as your inner assumption of wealth reconfigures your mindset, choices, and perception, guiding you toward opportunities that feel inevitable and aligned with your imagined reality. This is the turning point where scarcity thoughts dissolve, replaced by the palpable sensation that financial freedom, love, and joy are already yours. existing in the theater of your consciousness before appearing in the physical world. This is why clarity of desire matters, for vague intentions produce scattered outcomes, while precise inner convictions direct life like a magnetic field drawing metals to its center. This is where subtle shifts in behavior begin, as your thoughts, decisions, and actions naturally harmonize with the state of already being prosperous, loved, and fulfilled. This is how relationships and connections shift, because the energy you radiate attracts circumstances, people, and resources that mirror the inner abundance you embody. This is where emotional resonance becomes crucial, as feeling wealthy and secure, loved and joyous, impresses the subconscious to orchestrate events that match the intensity of your inner state. This is why persistence in the assumed state is essential, for only repeated immersion transforms fleeting imaginations into lived realities, producing financial gains, harmonious relationships, and sustainable happiness. This is how intuition sharpens, guiding you toward choices, ventures, and opportunities that align perfectly with the prosperity, love, and happiness you are already feeling. This is where resistance fades, because the committed to living the end recognizes obstacles as temporary illusions rather than permanent barriers. This is how synchronicities begin to appear, moments when chance, timing, and insight converge to make outcomes feel effortless and even miraculous. This is why Neville's formula is described as simple, yet profoundly effective. Its elegance lies in the alignment of imagination, feeling, and persistence into a unified creative current. This is where courage flourishes, because inner conviction removes doubt, fear, and hesitation, leaving only the certainty that your desires will manifest in perfect timing. This is how wealth becomes more than money, extending into opportunities, experiences, and states of mind that reinforce a life of abundance and joy. This is where love deepens naturally, for the vibrational state of fulfillment draws into your life relationships that resonate with your inner completeness. This is how happiness solidifies, becoming a continuous inner reality that no longer depends on external validation, but reflects the certainty of your inner conviction. This is where the three-step formula reveals its unified brilliance, showing that prosperity, love, and happiness are not separate pursuits, but simultaneous expressions of a single internal alignment. This is how the bridge between imagination and reality strengthens, turning your inner assumptions into unshakable outer manifestations. This is where your life begins to radiate the energy of abundance, love, and joy, fully aligned with Neville's three-step formula, and every moment becomes a testament to the power of inner conviction realized in the outer world. Think of the moment when you realize that everything you see around you, every person, every circumstance, every moment, is a reflection of assumptions you hold in your consciousness. This is where Neville's three-step formula for attracting prosperity, love, and happiness reveals its hidden engine. Because assumption is not a wish or a hope, but a deliberate, living act of mental and emotional alignment with your desired reality. This is how it unfolds, as you consciously adopt the feeling of already having your desires fulfilled, allowing your mind and body to respond as if your wealth, love, and joy are already present. This is the turning point where effort fades into effortless creation, because the power of assumption impresses the subconscious directly, bypassing struggle, doubt, and hesitation. This is why Neville emphasized living as if, because embodying the end result signals to the universe and to your own mind that the manifestation is already a fait accompli. This is where prosperity begins to flow, not through chasing money, but through the magnetic pull of your assumed state, attracting opportunities, connections, and insights that match your inner reality. This is how love deepens, as the assumption of being cherished naturally draws those who resonate with that energy, creating relationships that mirror your inner fulfillment. This is where happiness becomes a constant companion, emerging not from conditions outside you, but from the unwavering reality you assume within. This is how the formula transforms thought into feeling, feeling into belief, and belief into tangible outcomes, producing results that feel miraculous, yet are methodical in nature. This is why persistence in assumption is crucial, because the subconscious requires repeated, vivid, emotionally charged impressions to act upon, solidifying your desires into reality. This is where doubt threatens, But maintaining the assumed state, even when the world shows contrary evidence, strengthens your creative power and accelerates manifestation. This is how imagination, feeling, and persistence converge in perfect harmony, creating a seamless current that carries prosperity, love, and happiness into your life. This is where clarity sharpens, as specific, detailed assumptions leave no ambiguity for the subconscious to misinterpret, producing more precise results. This is how the subtle art of internal dramatization works, turning imagined scenes into lived experience by fully engaging the senses and emotions. This is where the three-step formula's elegance shines, because a single committed assumption ripples across all areas of life, integrating wealth, love, and joy as a unified experience. This is how synchronicities and unexpected opportunities arise naturally, signaling the alignment between inner state and outer reality. This is where resilience grows, because your inner assumptions create a reality that is impervious to temporary setbacks or apparent contradictions. This is how Neville's teachings reveal that life is not something that happens to you, but something you orchestrate with conscious assumption. This is where the formula for attracting prosperity, love, and happiness solidifies as a living, breathing method, proving that consistent, emotionally charged assumption transforms imagination into tangible reality. Ask yourself, what happens when you realize that every relationship, every bond, and every connection in your life is a mirror of the way you see yourself from within? This is where Neville's three-step formula for attracting prosperity, love, and happiness deepens, because true love begins not as an external pursuit, but as a reflection of your inner state of completeness and self-assurance. This is how it unfolds, as you discover that by feeling cherished, accepted, and worthy internally, your outer relationships naturally align with that vibration, drawing in people who reflect the love you already embody. This is the turning point where external validation becomes unnecessary, because the fullness of love is first cultivated within, allowing others to complement rather than complete your experience. This is why the imagination and assumption steps are essential, as you must mentally and emotionally inhabit the state of being loved and loving before it appears in your daily life. This is where persistence in feeling plays its critical role, because the subconscious molds your external reality to match the internally consistent, emotionally charged state of fulfilled love. This is how prosperity, love, and happiness intertwine, because a heart aligned with self-love and acceptance naturally attracts abundance, joy, and harmonious relationships. This is where subtle signs emerge, as encounters, conversations, and synchronicities begin reflecting the love and respect you carry within yourself. This is how happiness deepens, for fulfillment no longer depends on the fickleness of external affection, but arises as a natural consequence of internal alignment with love and desire. This is where resistance fades, because as the formula demonstrates, consistent self-consciousness in the desired state overcomes old patterns of insecurity, loneliness, or attachment. This is how imagination becomes magnetic, drawing into your life experiences and relationships that mirror the vibrational reality you inhabit. This is where the three-step formula's genius is revealed, showing that love, when rooted in self-consciousness, radiates outward and synchronizes seamlessly with prosperity and happiness. This is how emotional richness enhances manifestation, as the vibrancy of love strengthens the current that brings your desires into physical form. This is where the heart learns patience, understanding that persistence in the felt state generates lasting, authentic connection rather than fleeting gratification. This is how relationships shift effortlessly, as your inner state dictates who and what can enter your life, filtering out anything that does not resonate with your assumed reality. This is where clarity deepens, teaching that the quality of your inner self determines the quality of your outer experiences, aligning perfectly with the three-step formula for attracting prosperity, love, and happiness. This is how subtle acts of imagination, like visualizing loving interactions, grow into tangible, lived relationships. This is where joy becomes natural, because a consistent state of self-alignment produces effortless emotional fulfillment. This is how mastery begins, showing that by nurturing love internally, every other aspect of your life, wealth, opportunities, happiness, flows in harmony with your inner reality. This is where the formula proves itself as an integrated method, turning self-consciousness into a powerful magnet that orchestrates prosperity, love, and happiness across all areas of life. Consider the possibility that true happiness is not something to be earned, found, or awaited, but a state to be assumed and inhabited from within. This is where Neville's three-step formula for attracting prosperity, love, and happiness becomes transformative, because it teaches that happiness is not a byproduct of external circumstances, but the foundation upon which all desires manifest. This is how it unfolds. As you learn to immerse yourself in the feeling of already being joyous, content, and fulfilled, regardless of what appears outside. This is the turning point where the mind begins to reinterpret events, filtering experiences through the lens of inner satisfaction and emotional abundance. This is why imagination and assumption are critical. Because when you consistently feel happy in your inner world, your subconscious organizes circumstances to match that vibration of joy. This is where persistence strengthens the effect, as maintaining the inner state of happiness creates a ripple through every aspect of life, subtly influencing thoughts, behaviors, and encounters to align with fulfillment. This is how prosperity responds. Because a joyful mind naturally recognizes and attracts opportunities that resonate with abundance rather than fear or lack. This is where love deepens, since happiness radiates outward, magnetizing relationships, affection, and connection that reflect the inner delight you carry. This is how the three-step formula integrates, showing that by assuming happiness first, you unlock the energy required to manifest both prosperity and love with effortless grace. This is where subtle shifts occur, as challenges no longer appear as obstacles, but as temporary contrasts, amplifying the appreciation of fulfillment when maintained in feeling. This is why emotional mastery matters, because the quality of your happiness directly impacts the vibrational signal you emit to the universe, shaping your experiences accordingly. This is how imagination becomes tangible, as the consistent inner reality of joy impresses the subconscious to orchestrate events, encounters, and circumstances that mirror that happiness. This is where resistance fades, because inner joy leaves no space for doubt, fear, or scarcity to dominate perception or behavior. This is how the formula strengthens, demonstrating that prosperity, love, and happiness are not separate goals, but interconnected states, emerging from the same inner alignment. This is where gratitude magnifies effect, as feeling thankful for imagined fulfillment accelerates manifestation, embedding happiness more deeply into your being. This is how synchronicities begin to appear effortlessly, signaling alignment between inner state and outer experience, reinforcing the certainty of the fulfilled life. This is where clarity sharpens, teaching that living as if joy already exists reshapes perception and decision-making toward favorable outcomes. This is how the three-step formula turns internal states into a continuous creative process, ensuring that happiness is not fleeting, but a constant vibration within your life. This is where life itself begins to reflect inner joy, making prosperity easier to attract, love more natural to cultivate, and every moment imbued with the subtle, powerful certainty that fulfillment is already yours. This is how persistence in the state of happiness transforms not only your inner world but every tangible aspect of your life, harmonizing perfectly with Neville's three-step formula for attracting prosperity, love, and happiness. Picture for a moment that every moment of your past, every regret, mistake, or disappointment could be rewritten in your imagination to align perfectly with the life you desire. This is where Neville's three-step formula for attracting prosperity, love, and happiness reveals an extraordinary secret, because by revising the past, you change the blueprint your subconscious uses to construct your present and future. This is how it unfolds. As you mentally revisit events and scenes, imagining them unfolding differently, feeling the outcome you wish had occurred, and saturating them with the emotion of fulfillment. This is the turning point, where guilt, pain, and limitation lose their grip, because the mind begins to accept the revised memory as a real, completed experience, reshaping your present perspective and emotional state. This is why revision works, for the subconscious cannot distinguish between vividly imagined reality and memory, allowing your inner world to dictate outer circumstances with remarkable precision. This is where prosperity responds, as old limiting beliefs connected to failure or lack are erased, clearing the path for opportunities, abundance, and success to flow freely into your life. This is how love deepens, because past misunderstandings, conflicts, or disappointments can be mentally and emotionally healed, allowing relationships to flourish unburdened by old patterns. This is where happiness stabilizes, since freedom from past regrets and limitations produces inner peace, joy, and a sense of liberation that permeates every moment. This is how the three-step formula integrates seamlessly, showing that imagination, assumption, and persistence can not only create the future, but also transform the past into an ally of your desired reality. This is where subtle transformations appear, as feelings of empowerment, clarity, and confidence emerge, replacing doubt, resentment, and fear. This is why emotional fidelity is key, because the stronger the feeling applied to the revised memory, the more effectively it impresses the subconscious and accelerates manifestation. This is how imagination becomes a practical tool for mastery, enabling you to continuously shape both inner and outer realities with precision and purpose. This is where prosperity, love, and happiness converge, as the inner world freed from past limitations radiates outward, naturally attracting circumstances that mirror your revised, fulfilled state. This is the turning point, where personal responsibility and creative power unite, teaching that every outcome you experience is linked to the state you assume internally. This is where synchronicities, unexpected opportunities, and favorable encounters begin to confirm the effectiveness of revision, giving tangible evidence of the inner changes taking root. This is how persistence strengthens the method, because repeated revision and consistent assumption reinforce the subconscious blueprint of fulfillment and alignment. This is where imagination becomes the architect of freedom, allowing you to reconstruct memories, perceptions, and emotional associations to support your highest desires. This is how mastery deepens, demonstrating that by rewriting the past, you remove invisible obstacles and solidify the pathway for prosperity, love, and happiness to flow seamlessly into your life. This is where Neville's three-step formula reveals its full elegance, showing that by combining imagination, assumption, and persistence, you can transform not only the present and future, but the past itself, creating a life of absolute freedom, joy, and abundance. Now consider this. What if the fastest, most reliable path to prosperity, love, and happiness was not through effort, struggle, or waiting, but by fully inhabiting the state of your desire as if it were already real? This is where Neville's three-step formula for attracting prosperity, love, and happiness reaches its most powerful expression, because living in the end bypasses doubt, aligns your subconscious, and accelerates manifestation beyond ordinary expectation. This is how it unfolds, as you mentally and emotionally step into the reality where your goals are complete, experiencing every sensation, every detail, and every feeling as though nothing remains to be done. This is the turning point, where external circumstances begin to mirror the inner state almost immediately, creating synchronicities, opportunities, and confirmations that feel effortless and magical. This is where prosperity responds, because a mind fully convinced of abundance directs attention, choices, and actions toward wealth, effortlessly recognizing avenues and resources that align with the imagined reality. This is how love flourishes, for when you embody the end of being cherished, valued, and adored, relationships naturally resonate with that inner certainty, drawing people who reflect the same vibration. This is where happiness becomes a permanent undertone, no longer dependent on fleeting conditions, but arising continuously from the state already assumed internally. This is how the three-step formula demonstrates elegance, showing that imagination, assumption, and persistence converge to create a reality that is already present, even if unseen. This is where patience takes on a new meaning, for time itself becomes secondary when your inner reality dictates outer outcomes, and delays feel inconsequential to the inevitable unfolding. This is why clarity and specificity matter, because a vividly detailed end state leaves no ambiguity for the subconscious, allowing precise orchestration of events to match your desired life. This is how subtle signs and synchronicities begin to appear, from unexpected opportunities to chance encounters, all confirming that your inner state is actively shaping reality, This is where emotional intensity becomes your accelerator, for the depth of feeling you apply to the end state determines how quickly and effortlessly it materializes in your experience. This is how prosperity, love, and happiness merge seamlessly, because living in the end aligns all aspects of life with a unified, fulfilling inner reality. This is where imagination transforms into tangible creation, turning scenes played vividly in the mind into concrete results in the physical world. This is why persistence matters, as repeated immersion in the fulfilled state strengthens the subconscious blueprint, making manifestation inevitable and stable. This is how mastery begins, for living in the end becomes second nature, a habitual state that dictates life's rhythm and direction without struggle or strain. This is where resistance and doubt fade, leaving only the certainty that your desires are already real within the unseen realm of consciousness. This is how the three-step formula solidifies as a continuous, practical method, proving that the shortcut to all prosperity, love, and happiness lies not in external chasing, but in the deliberate, felt assumption of the end. This is where your life begins to reflect the inner reality you occupy, making every moment a mirror of the prosperity, love, and happiness you have fully embraced and lived within your mind. Envision a world where the certainty of your inner feeling carries more weight than any external proof, where faith is not passive hope, but an active, living force that shapes reality itself. This is where Neville's three-step formula for attracting prosperity, love, and happiness becomes unstoppable, because faith and feeling are the engines that drive imagination into manifestation. This is how it unfolds, as you cultivate unwavering conviction in the reality of your desires, while saturating your consciousness with the emotional experience of having already received them. This is the turning point where doubt loses its power, for feelings held consistently with faith impress the subconscious so deeply that outer reality cannot help but align. This is where prosperity accelerates, because the mind that truly believes abundance is present, perceives and attracts opportunities effortlessly, translating inner certainty into tangible wealth. This is how love deepens, as the emotional state of being cherished, adored, and connected magnetizes relationships that mirror your inner conviction, drawing people naturally into your vibrational field. This is where happiness becomes automatic, arising continuously from the certainty that your desires are real, regardless of appearances or temporary circumstances. This is how the three-step formula shows its brilliance, by combining imagination, assumption, and persistence with the emotional energy of faith, transforming thought into living reality. This is where the subconscious becomes a faithful ally, acting on the instructions of your dominant feeling, orchestrating events, coincidences, and encounters to mirror your inner world. This is why emotional fidelity matters, because the stronger and more authentic the feeling, the more precise and effortless the manifestation. This is how the mind begins to harmonize with the universe, aligning your thoughts, decisions, and actions with the flow of prosperity, love, and happiness. This is where subtle signs emerge, confirming that your inner state is being mirrored outwardly through synchronicities, sudden insights, and opportunities appearing as if by magic. This is how persistence strengthens faith, for repeated immersion in the feeling of fulfillment overrides old habits of doubt, fear, or scarcity, embedding a permanent blueprint of success in the subconscious. This is where imagination and feeling merge, creating a seamless current that carries your desires from thought to physical reality, making manifestation inevitable and fluid. This is why Neville emphasized feeling over mere thinking, because thought alone is directionless, but feeling is the vector that propels energy into form. This is how prosperity, love, and happiness all respond to your internal emotional frequency, aligning perfectly when faith is sustained. This is where joy and confidence grow, for the act of feeling your desire realized reinforces certainty, creating a positive feedback loop that deepens manifestation. This is how mastery begins, as living consistently in the charged state of faith and feeling becomes habitual, and outer reality must conform to the inner state. This is where Neville's three-step formula proves its power, showing that imagination plus assumption plus persistence, combined with deep, unwavering feeling, becomes the ultimate method for creating a life of prosperity, love, and happiness. Ask yourself what happens when a single flicker of doubt creeps into your mind, threatening to unravel the momentum of prosperity, love, and happiness you've worked to build through Neville's three-step formula. This is where the challenge becomes clear. Because doubt is not merely a thought, but an energetic dissonance that can interrupt the alignment between imagination, feeling, and persistence. This is how it unfolds, as you recognize doubt as a signal rather than a failure, a prompt to consciously re-anchor yourself in the certainty of the wish fulfilled. This is the turning point, where understanding the mechanics of doubt allows you to transmute it into confidence, transforming hesitation into deliberate, empowering focus. This is how prosperity strengthens, because each act of reaffirming belief in abundance reinforces your internal blueprint, redirecting mental and emotional energy toward wealth rather than fear or scarcity. This is where love deepens, as the conscious dismissal of doubt allows the heart to radiate certainty, attracting connections that mirror your vibrational state, rather than reflecting insecurity or fear. This is how happiness stabilizes, because confidence in the reality of your inner fulfillment overrides the conditional fluctuations of external circumstance. This is where the three-step formula proves resilient, showing that imagination, assumption, and persistence continue to work even when doubt surfaces, as long as you consciously choose to return to feeling the end. This is how subtle exercises, like silently affirming your already fulfilled state or mentally replaying scenes of success and joy, convert wavering thoughts into reinforced certainty. This is where the subconscious is impressed, taking the emotionally charged, confident state as undeniable reality and orchestrating external events to match. This is why Neville emphasized repetition and emotional intensity, because persistent feeling overcomes initial uncertainty and rewires your perception and response patterns. This is how imagination becomes sharper, for each act of assuming certainty fine-tunes your mental vision, making the scene of prosperity, love, and happiness increasingly vivid and compelling. This is where alignment grows, as every thought, decision, and action begins to harmonize naturally with your inner certainty rather than resisting external evidence or contradiction. This is how mastery develops, teaching that confidence is not born from circumstances, but from deliberate immersion in the reality of your desires, no matter what appears outside. This is where prosperity, love, and happiness all accelerate, responding to the energy of unwavering belief rather than intermittent hope. This is how synchronicities, opportunities, and affirming events multiply, signaling that doubt has been transmuted into an unstoppable creative force. This is where persistence in confidence becomes habitual, making the inner state of certainty the default mode of operation. This is how Neville's three-step formula transforms not only outcomes but character, embedding resilience, faith, and self-trust into every action and thought. This is where life becomes a mirror of your inner certainty, and the formula for attracting prosperity, love, and happiness continues to operate with ever-growing precision and elegance. Envision a moment when you understand that what you call reality is shaped not by external circumstances, but by the dominant state of your consciousness, and that everything you experience is a reflection of this inner condition. This is where Neville's three-step formula for attracting prosperity, love, and happiness clarifies a common misconception. Because the law of consciousness operates differently from the superficial law of attraction, often misunderstood in popular teachings. This is how it unfolds, as you recognize that wishing, hoping, or visualizing without fully assuming the end state only produces partial results, whereas consciousness itself dictates the unfolding of events from the inside out. This is the turning point, where imagination, feeling, and persistent assumption merge to create a dominant state that impresses the subconscious, which in turn organizes life to match your inner conviction. This is how prosperity manifests reliably, because the state of abundance you embody internally is mirrored externally in opportunities, resources, and financial flow. This is where love deepens, for the state of being loved and loving you in habit shapes the relationships that naturally enter your life. Resonating with the vibration you maintain, this is how happiness stabilizes, arising from a consciousness fully aligned with fulfillment, rather than temporary external validation. This is where the three-step formula demonstrates its superiority, showing that living in the end and assuming the desired state is far more effective than waiting for external circumstances to align with fleeting intentions. This is how subtle internal shifts begin, as attention, emotion, and belief align toward the reality you wish to inhabit, creating effortless coordination between thought and outcome. This is why imagination is not optional, for the mind must vividly perceive the desired state in order for consciousness to act as the blueprint for reality. This is how persistence strengthens this law, as repeated immersion in the assumed state impresses the subconscious more deeply, creating tangible and lasting results. This is where clarity emerges, as you understand that life is a mirror of your dominant inner state, not a product of random chance, luck, or external manipulation. This is how prosperity, love, and happiness all respond simultaneously, because the law of consciousness organizes the outer world to reflect the integrated state you maintain within. This is where doubt and hesitation lose their power, as the conscious assumption of the end overrides conflicting evidence and strengthens the inner blueprint. This is how mastery deepens, teaching that your attention, feeling, and imagination are the primary instruments for shaping every aspect of your existence. This is where synchronicities and intuitive insights flourish, naturally guiding you toward the manifestations that resonate with your internal reality. This is how the three-step formula transforms ordinary life into a deliberate, creative process where prosperity, love, and happiness are inevitable outcomes of consciousness. This is where the distinction between the law of attraction and the law of consciousness becomes critical, showing that without persistent, embodied assumption, attraction alone remains ineffective. This is how your inner reality becomes the architect of your outer experience, proving that Neville's three-step formula for attracting prosperity, love, and happiness is not just theory, but a living method that produces measurable, repeatable results. Suppose you discover that your imagination is not a fantasy tool, but the sculptor of reality, and belief is the energy that solidifies the form it creates. This is where Neville's three-step formula for attracting prosperity, love, and happiness demonstrates its true power, because imagination alone is inert without the conviction and emotional energy that belief provides. This is how it unfolds, as you vividly picture your desires with sensory richness, and then infuse those mental images with the unwavering certainty that they are already true. This is the turning point where the mind stops negotiating with doubt and begins to orchestrate life in perfect harmony with the imagined reality. This is where prosperity accelerates, because each scene of abundance, rehearsed and believed internally, primes the subconscious to recognize and attract corresponding external opportunities. This is how love deepens, as imagined and believed experiences of connection, affection, and partnership magnetically draw relationships that mirror the inner vision. This is where happiness stabilizes, because belief transforms imagined joy into an anchored inner reality that radiates outward regardless of external circumstances. This is how the three-step formula integrates, showing that imagination shapes the blueprint, belief energizes it, and persistence allows it to crystallize into tangible life events. This is where subtle cues appear, moments of serendipity, sudden insights, or unexpected alignments that validate the power of imagination combined with belief. This is how emotional engagement enhances the process, for the intensity of feeling applied to your imagination amplifies its signal to the subconscious, making manifestation faster and more precise. This is where clarity sharpens, because combining imagination with belief eliminates hesitation, ambiguity, and scattered focus, creating a single, unstoppable current toward fulfillment. This is how prosperity, love, and happiness become intertwined, each reinforcing the other as belief aligns the mind and heart with a unified, desirable reality. This is where resilience develops, because strong belief protects the inner state from external fluctuations, ensuring consistency in feeling and focus. This is how mastery begins, as the repeated interplay of imagination and belief becomes automatic, shaping a life where desired outcomes are no longer chance events but predictable manifestations. This is where the three-step formula proves elegant, combining mental creativity, emotional energy, and consistent assumption into a coherent, repeatable process. This is how synchronicities and confirmations multiply, signaling that imagination energized by belief is actively shaping your external reality. This is where doubt and distraction lose influence, because the mind anchored in believed imagination becomes a magnet for circumstances that match its inner certainty. This is how happiness is naturally sustained, love naturally attracted, and prosperity naturally aligned. All flowing from the inner alignment created by imagination and belief. This is where life begins to feel effortless yet intentional, a continuous unfolding of prosperity, love, and happiness, orchestrated by the seamless partnership of imagination and belief, fully realized through Neville's three-step formula. Envision a moment when you realize that the vividness of your feelings determines the speed and clarity of your manifestations, and that the subconscious responds not to thought alone, but to the depth of emotion you invest. This is where Neville's three-step formula for attracting prosperity, love, and happiness reveals its hidden engine. Because the more intensely you feel your imagined reality, the more powerfully it impresses the subconscious to bring it into physical existence. This is how it unfolds, as you deliberately immerse yourself in the sensory and emotional richness of already having your desires, allowing every sense to participate in the imagined experience. This is the turning point, where mere thinking transforms into a living, vibrating state that radiates outward, shaping circumstances, attracting opportunities, and influencing others. This is where prosperity accelerates, because emotionally charged belief activates a current that magnetizes resources, ideas, and situations aligned with abundance and wealth. This is how love deepens, as saturated feelings of connection, intimacy, and affection draw into your life relationships that mirror the internal vibrational reality. This is where happiness stabilizes, because fully experienced joy in the imagination anchors a constant inner vibration that no external circumstance can easily disrupt. This is how the three-step formula comes alive, integrating imagination, assumption, and persistence with emotional saturation to produce powerful, tangible results. This is where subtle shifts become unmistakable, as synchronicities, intuitive nudges, and effortless opportunities appear to confirm the alignment of your inner state with outer reality. This is how clarity is refined, because deep emotional involvement in the assumed end state eliminates ambiguity, leaving the subconscious with a precise template to manifest. This is where persistence intersects with intensity, as repeated immersion in a fully felt state strengthens the subconscious impression, accelerating manifestation and minimizing resistance. This is how mastery develops, teaching that the quality of your inner feeling directly determines the quality and speed of your outer experiences. This is where prosperity, love, and happiness flow in harmony, each being an expression of the intensity and saturation of the state you hold within. This is how the formula transforms ordinary imagination into a potent creative force, capable of reshaping circumstances, opportunities, and relationships in alignment with your desires. This is where resistance diminishes, for the powerful vibration of deeply felt assumption overwhelms doubt, delay, and distraction, leaving manifestation as a natural consequence. This is how life itself becomes a reflection of your inner saturation, with every encounter, event, and circumstance matching the vivid emotional reality you have cultivated. This is where emotional intelligence becomes a tool of creation, guiding you to refine feelings and maintain them with consistency and authenticity. This is how the three-step formula demonstrates its elegance, showing that when imagination is combined with belief and deeply felt emotion, prosperity, love, and happiness manifest with remarkable precision. This is where your inner life becomes the driver of your outer reality, proving that emotional intensity and saturation are not optional, but essential to mastering the art of manifestation through Neville's three-step formula. Think of the moment when you realize that your outer actions are simply reflections of your inner state, and that true mastery lies in aligning your subconscious with every choice, behavior, and decision. This is where Neville's three-step formula for attracting prosperity, love, and happiness becomes fully practical, because subconscious alignment ensures that everything you do supports the reality you have assumed internally. This is how it unfolds, as you consciously direct attention, emotions, and imagination in a consistent manner. allowing your actions to flow effortlessly from the assumed state of fulfillment. This is the turning point where habit and intention merge, transforming mundane routines into acts that reinforce prosperity, deepen love, and sustain happiness. This is where prosperity is magnified, because actions taken from a state of abundance naturally attract resources, opportunities, and collaborations that resonate with inner wealth. This is how love flourishes, as behavior guided by the internal reality of being cherished and connected creates authentic, harmonious relationships without effort or coercion. This is where happiness stabilizes, because daily choices aligned with your inner state prevent dissonance, keeping your outer life a mirror of the fulfillment you feel inside. This is how the three-step formula integrates seamlessly with life, showing that imagination and assumption are not just mental exercises but guiding currents for conscious action. This is where subtle shifts become tangible, as intuition, timing, and synchronicities guide every decision, demonstrating that your inner alignment orchestrates external reality. This is how clarity emerges, for each step, gesture, and interaction is naturally filtered through the lens of your assumed reality, minimizing confusion and wasted effort. This is where persistence reinforces alignment, as daily reinforcement of the imagined end state strengthens subconscious programming and accelerates manifestation. This is how mastery deepens, teaching that subconscious alignment with daily life creates a consistent, unstoppable current of prosperity, love, and happiness. This is where resilience grows, because aligned actions reinforce belief and feeling, making it easier to maintain the assumed state despite temporary setbacks or contradictions. This is how imagination becomes the engine, subconscious alignment the transmission, and consistent action the vehicle that drives your desires into tangible reality. This is where outer circumstances begin to reflect internal certainty, with opportunities, people, and experiences appearing effortlessly to support the state you inhabit. This is how prosperity, love, and happiness converge, each fueled by the seamless integration of subconscious alignment with conscious living. This is where life itself becomes a demonstration of the three-step formula in action, showing that imagination, assumption, and persistence translate into every tangible moment. This is how intuition sharpens, as aligned subconscious guidance steers you toward situations and choices perfectly attuned to your inner reality. This is where Neville's three-step formula proves its ultimate power, turning internal mastery into effortless, consistent creation of prosperity, love, and happiness in all aspects of life. Envision a world where every blessing, opportunity, and relationship is amplified by the simple yet profound act of gratitude, turning ordinary experiences into powerful accelerators of manifestation. This is where Neville's three-step formula for attracting prosperity, love, and happiness demonstrates its hidden potency, because gratitude intensifies the feeling of already having your desires fulfilled, impressing the subconscious with unmistakable clarity. This is how it unfolds, as you deliberately focus on appreciation for what exists and for what you are imagining, allowing every sense and emotion to resonate with abundance, love, and joy. This is the turning point where mundane awareness transforms into elevated perception, seeing opportunity, connection, and happiness everywhere, reinforcing the inner state of fulfillment. This is where prosperity multiplies, because gratitude magnifies the vibrational energy of abundance, attracting financial flow, opportunities, and resources that mirror your inner state. This is how love deepens, as expressing appreciation within yourself and toward others strengthens bonds and draws people who resonate with the same energy. This is where happiness becomes self-sustaining, for the act of recognizing and valuing fulfillment creates a feedback loop of joy that continuously reinforces the inner state. This is how the three-step formula integrates seamlessly, showing that imagination, assumption, and persistence are exponentially strengthened by the conscious cultivation of gratitude. This is where subtle signs begin to appear, as coincidences, chance encounters, and synchronicities confirm that the universe is actively responding to your appreciative vibration. This is how clarity sharpens, for gratitude illuminates the alignment between inner belief and outer reality, making opportunities unmistakable and actionable. This is where persistence in feeling gratitude becomes critical, as repeated appreciation solidifies the subconscious blueprint for prosperity, love, and happiness. This is how mastery develops, teaching that the deliberate focus on what is already desired enhances manifestation beyond mere thought or imagination. This is where prosperity, love, and happiness converge naturally, each fueled by the vibration of grateful assumption held consistently within. This is how imagination becomes vibrant, because gratitude energizes the scenes you assume in your mind, infusing them with life and emotional resonance. This is where resilience grows, as a grateful state prevents doubt, impatience, or external setbacks from disrupting the assumed reality. This is how synchronicities multiply, signaling the alignment of inner appreciation with outer manifestation. This is where the three-step formula demonstrates elegance, turning simple acts of gratitude into a powerful multiplier that strengthens the magnetic pull of prosperity, love, and happiness. This is how life begins to flow effortlessly, as every moment of recognition and appreciation deepens the reality of your desires. This is where Neville's formula proves its ultimate truth, that gratitude, when combined with imagination, assumption, and persistence, transforms ordinary desire into a living, continuously manifesting reality of abundance, love, and joy. Now consider this. What if every desire, every opportunity, and every connection has its perfect moment to appear, and impatience only delays the fulfillment of your intentions? This is where Neville's three-step formula for attracting prosperity, love, and happiness teaches its subtle yet profound lesson, because understanding timing allows the inner assumption to remain steady while the outer world aligns perfectly with your desires. This is how it unfolds, as you cultivate patience, trusting that the internal reality you hold will inevitably express in the external world at precisely the right moment. This is the turning point where frustration dissolves, because you recognize that delays are not denials but alignments, giving the subconscious time to orchestrate circumstances, people, and resources in perfect harmony with your imagined state. This is where prosperity strengthens, as opportunities appear naturally, unforced, and fully aligned with your inner assumption, maximizing both abundance and impact. This is how love deepens, because relationships evolve at the pace necessary for authenticity, resonance, and mutual alignment, ensuring long-lasting connection. This is where happiness stabilizes, for trust in timing removes anxiety, allowing joy to persist independently of external fluctuations. This is how the three-step formula integrates patience seamlessly, showing that imagination, assumption, and persistence do not require forcing reality, but require steady, unwavering belief in its perfect unfolding. This is where subtle cues begin to signal alignment, moments of serendipity, intuitive nudges, and synchronicities that indicate your inner state is actively shaping your outer reality. This is how clarity emerges, because understanding timing illuminates when to act, when to wait, and when to reinforce your inner state without unnecessary struggle. This is where persistence intersects with patience, as repeated immersion in the assumed end state sustains the subconscious impression while respecting the natural rhythm of manifestation. This is how mastery develops, teaching that life is not a race, but a flow, and prosperity, love, and happiness manifest most fully when internal readiness meets external opportunity. This is where the imagination becomes a rehearsal space, allowing scenes of fulfillment to mature and saturate the subconscious while real-world conditions catch up. This is how synchronicities multiply, as timing aligns with your inner conviction, making outcomes appear effortless, yet perfectly orchestrated. This is where resilience deepens, for the inner state of certainty and joy remains steady regardless of apparent delays, maintaining momentum in manifestation. This is how prosperity, love, and happiness converge, each arriving in perfect measure when internal assumption and external timing synchronize. This is where life transforms into a seamless reflection of your inner state, showing that patience is not passive, but a vital creative tool in the formula. This is how the three-step formula demonstrates ultimate elegance, proving that steady assumption combined with trust in timing ensures every desire unfolds fully, harmoniously, and with maximum effect. This is where you begin to feel the effortless rhythm of life, responding to your inner certainty, making prosperity, love, and happiness not just possible, but inevitable outcomes of Neville's method. Think of the moment when you understand that manifestation is not a single act, but a continuous flowing process, where faith, imagination, and emotional consistency combine to maintain alignment with your desires. This is where Neville's three-step formula for attracting prosperity, love, and happiness shows its enduring power. Because long-term results require a steady inner state that continuously reinforces the reality you wish to experience. This is how it unfolds. As you consciously repeat the cycles of imagining, assuming, and persisting, while sustaining the emotions associated with already having your desires fulfilled. This is the turning point, where consistency replaces effort, and living in the end becomes an ongoing, effortless rhythm that naturally shapes all areas of life. This is where prosperity continues to expand, because steady emotional alignment draws repeated opportunities, partnerships, and financial flow into your orbit without struggle or resistance. This is how love flourishes, as consistent inner states of affection, acceptance, and emotional vibrancy magnetize relationships that reflect your sustained inner reality. This is where happiness stabilizes, arising as a constant, resilient undercurrent that is impervious to temporary challenges or outer circumstances. This is how the three-step formula integrates into daily life, showing that manifestation is a lifestyle, not a one-time exercise, and that persistent assumption builds a reality that endures and evolves. This is where subtle shifts compound, as repeated, emotionally charged assumptions strengthens subconscious programming and expands the range of possibilities in ways that feel natural yet remarkable. This is how clarity deepens, for emotional consistency allows you to distinguish between true intuitive guidance and fleeting impulses, ensuring alignment with the highest expression of your desires. This is where mastery emerges, teaching that the conscious, repeated investment in faith, imagination, and feeling transforms ordinary living into deliberate creation. This is how synchronicities, affirmations, and unexpected opportunities accumulate, signaling that your sustained inner state is actively shaping reality. This is where doubt, fear, and distraction lose influence, as the ongoing alignment between thought, feeling, and assumption leaves little room for internal contradiction. This is how prosperity, love, and happiness converge seamlessly, each continuously reinforcing the other, producing a life of holistic abundance. This is where the imagination becomes a constant rehearsal of desired outcomes, belief fuels the intensity of creation, and emotional consistency sustains the vibration necessary for manifestation. This is how life becomes a mirror of your inner mastery, showing that long-term results are not about external striving, but internal alignment. This is where persistence, patience, and trust converge, forming a continuous current that sustains manifestation indefinitely. This is how the three-step formula demonstrates timeless elegance, proving that consistent faith, vivid imagination, and emotional consistency are the ultimate keys to lasting prosperity, love, and happiness. This is where you witness your inner reality shaping the outer world in an ever-expanding, harmonious expression of Neville's teachings. This is how the formula ensures not just temporary fulfillment, but an enduring, self-reinforcing life of abundance and joy. Ask yourself what it would feel like to live every moment fully aligned with prosperity, love, and happiness, where imagination, assumption, and persistence merge seamlessly into a coherent, unstoppable current of creation. This is where Neville's three-step formula for attracting prosperity, love, and happiness reaches its ultimate expression, showing that mastery is not a destination, but a continuous state of living from the end of your desires. This is how it unfolds, as you integrate all previous insights, revision of the past, living in the end, emotional intensity, gratitude, patience, and subconscious alignment, into one seamless, empowered way of being. This is the turning point where inner reality dictates outer life effortlessly, and every thought, feeling, and action becomes a deliberate tool of creation. This is where prosperity flourishes, because every opportunity, resource, and action aligns naturally with the inner state of abundance, producing a life of wealth and ease without strain. This is how love deepens, as relationships, connections, and bonds are magnetically drawn to reflect the vibrational harmony of your fulfilled inner state, creating joy and intimacy that feels organic and effortless. This is where happiness becomes a constant undercurrent, arising not as a reaction to circumstance, but as the natural expression of a mind, heart, and soul in full alignment with desire. This is how the three-step formula integrates flawlessly, showing that imagination sparks creation, assumption solidifies it, and persistence ensures that the manifestation endures and expands. This is where subtle confirmations abound, from synchronicities to unexpected opportunities, reinforcing the certainty and elegance of the process. This is how clarity reaches its peak, because the combination of awareness, faith, and emotional fidelity allows you to navigate life with intuition, precision, and certainty. This is where mastery feels natural, as the principles become instinctive, and you live from a place of alignment rather than effort, struggle, or doubt. This is how imagination transforms into reality. Belief becomes unshakable, and emotional consistency becomes the engine driving a life of abundance and fulfillment. This is where prosperity, love, and happiness converge fully, creating a holistic, integrated life where each supports and enhances the others seamlessly. This is how patience and trust harmonize with action, showing that timing is never random but orchestrated by your inner alignment with the end state. This is where gratitude multiplies every experience, turning ordinary moments into accelerators of manifestation and reinforcing the reality you inhabit internally. This is how resistance, doubt, and distraction are rendered powerless, replaced by an inner certainty that your desires are not possibilities but realities in formation. This is where life itself becomes a continuous expression of Neville's teachings, a living demonstration of how the subconscious, aligned imagination, and persistent assumption shape tangible experience. This is how the three-step formula proves its ultimate elegance, transforming ordinary life into a continuous, self-reinforcing flow of prosperity, love, and happiness. This is where you step fully into the role of conscious creator, living with intention, joy, and certainty, knowing that your inner reality is the architect of every moment. This is how Neville's three-step formula culminates, showing that when imagination, assumption, and persistence are mastered together, life itself becomes a mirror of your highest desires, fully realized, sustained, and ever expanding in prosperity, love, and happiness.